Hello, it's Phil at digitaldjtips.com. Today I've got the Pioneer DJM-850 mixer to look at. This is going to be particularly interesting to our controllerists and to our digital DJs because it works with Traktor, and that means that one USB cable between your laptop and the Pioneer will allow you to use this as a digital vinyl mixer. That means you can use real digital vinyl on real record decks, or you can use CDs, of course. Or if you have decks which can output timecode, they can plug straight into this, as I have here. These dead ends are outputting timecode and control Traktor. And there's lots of other permutations as well, but the bottom line is you can use this with Traktor without any extra hardware. So who's going to be interested in this? Well, controller users are going to like this because if you roll up at a gig, you can plug your controller in to the mixer, which you'll have to do anyway, and then you can use all the effects and all the stuff I'm about to show you on the mixer. So you can add to what you're doing with your controller using the Pioneer hardware, which sounds really good. You can, as I've mentioned, use it for digital vinyl, but also I think the aspirational thing for a lot of digital DJs is you start off with software, you maybe add a controller, but when you roll up at a club and there's gear there, a lot of people want to be able to use that gear. Well, if you have a setup with a mixer like this at the heart of it at home, you have the best of both worlds. You can use this digitally with Traktor, or you can use it with CDJs or decks to learn to beat match manually and learn to do it the old way, or any combination thereof. So it really does give you the best of all worlds, and of course that comes at a price. This is a club standard mixer. It's very similar to the mixers you'll find in a lot of clubs worldwide, and it's going to cost you a lot more than a DJ controller just for that bit, never mind these bits. But if you're starting to make money DJing and you want the best stuff at home, you want stuff you can grow with, and you want stuff you can do everything on, analog and digital, this is the kind of thing you're probably going to be considering right at the heart of your setup. So for all those reasons, it's worth knowing how this stuff works. So I'm going to talk you through the mixer now. It is very standard in looks. It hasn't changed in looks very much since the DJM-850, which I had a good 10 years ago. Very Pioneer. All DJs will know exactly what to do with this the minute they get onto it, who've ever used a Pioneer mixer before. That means 4 channels up the middle, all the inputs and outputs you can imagine around the back, for CDs, phono, so on, and then balanced and unbalanced outputs. But this section here is where the effects happen, which stand it apart from a standard DJ mixer. And also, in the last few years, as Pioneer's developed its range, this section here is new as well. And this section is a set of effects that control these knobs here, which didn't exist on my old DJM-850. Now, if you look at this mixer and you're used to DJ gear, you'll probably guess that these are going to be filters, and you'd be right. But there's also 4 other effects here: gate, noise and crush. So we're going to start off by showing you this section, which are all tied into these and to the little button there that says beat. So let's start something playing. The first effect is filter. There's a kind of 8-bit old school crush effect. There's a gate, which knocks out all but the loudest bits. And the most striking is noise, which does what it says. And the other way. These can be modulated further with the beat button, which just modulates the effect every time the beat kicks in. So have a listen to noise for the best example of that. So that's one set of effects. The other set of effects is over here, and there'll be familiarity here to people who are used to using loops on their DJ controllers and effects that tie to the beat. Because this has a BPM counter on it, it works out what speed we're playing at, and it allows us to change these effects depending upon a multiple or a fraction of the current beat. So this little number here is telling us it's going to affect it every beat, every 3/4 of a beat, half, quarter, and then you can go all the way up to like half a bar, and so on. Very similar to looping, as I say, on a DJ controller. The effects themselves are selected with this knob here, and this knob here controls whether it affects everything the mixer's doing or an individual channel. This one here is called time, and if you want to take over this, manually, you use this instead, which alters the time that it's going to affect and doesn't tie it to the beats and bars. And finally, the level or depth is really on and off. It's wet and dry. And this is your on-off button here. So that's how it all works. Let's have a little look at some of the effects. I think it's got all the usual stuff, echoes and delays and flanges and filters. The filter will be a good way of showing you how this timing thing works. So I want to set it to 1 beat and turn it on. So you can hear the filter is affecting just every beat now. It's going in a cycle. I can make it longer. Now it's doing it every bar. So you can see how that modulates the effect at the top here. Other effects. This is like a gate, but it's a timed one, so it's just kicking the music in and out, depending on the amount of time you set here. Every 2 beats, every 1 beat, every quarter of a beat. Then Spiral is one that Pioneer has introduced recently, and it's not so good on a beat, but you imagine that on a vocal, could sound amazing. There's an effect called up echo, which is like an echo, but it just gets higher. And again, this is something that Pioneer's introduced that a lot of people are really enjoying. Try that again. So you can hear that's getting higher. Again, a very electronic effect. And there's various others that are non-standard. Robot kind of gives you a metallic feel. Here's a robot. And then you have the kind of roll effects, beloved of trance DJs the world over. Here's a roll effect. And there's another version of it here. Everyone's heard that one. So there's this whole effects section here which is tied to the beat. So obviously you can combine the 2 sets to give you hundreds of effects combinations on this mixer. The effects are really the big selling point of this, and they're hardware effects. They're very good sounding. It has an excellent sound card in it. It's a sound card that's right up there with the very best. So if you have got computer effects that don't sound very good on your software, this kind of stuff is going to blow you away. So there you have it, the Pioneer DJM-850. I'd like to finally talk about how this fits in with the rest of the Pioneer range. Now this really should be seen as a replacement for the DJM-700. There's also the DJM-900 Nexus, which is a replacement, I guess, for the DJM-800, which is pretty much the standard mixer out there. And the DJM-900 adds a couple of effects in the sound colour area, extra, and there's a few other tweaks in this area as well, but it's basically a very similar product. So your big choice, if you're going to go down this route, is going to be between this one and spending a little bit extra for the DJM-900. Just want to talk about one more thing to do with Traktor as well, getting back to the controller side of things. The way I have this set up here at the moment is with these 2 Denons. Now these Denons are doing 2 things. They're feeding timecode into the mixer, but they're also USB into my computer, giving me MIDI control. I've got loops and everything all working from the Denons. Now there's no controls like that on this mixer, which is fine. In this setup it's great. I can do all my looping and hot queuing and so on using the Denons, and I can use this for the mixing in hardware. You might choose to use something like a Traktor Control X1 to give you all the buttons, especially if you're using this with record decks, for instance. An X1 will give you your transport, give you various other controls as well. This also, by the way, the Denons have a library browse which allows me to pick tracks without having to go to the computer, as does this. But the other choice you're going to have to make, should you have the money and want to start investing in kind of club standard gear, is whether to use another Pioneer mixer, the DJM-T1, which is, the T stands for Traktor, and what that has is kind of the essential parts of the X1, which was Native Instruments' way of giving record deck DJs using this kind of gear the buttons they need. The Pioneer DJM-T1 has got those buttons on it. It's got your play and it's got your pause and it's got various other hot cues and so on built into it. So in a mixer, it's actually a bit smaller than this. It's got 2 channels. In a mixer like this, you plug your computer in, you have all your transport buttons, and you just need any old record decks or any old crappy CD players as your timecode. So just something else to consider. It's been a real roller coaster ride, especially if you're one of our controller DJs who is just using a standard DJ controller and plugging it into your laptop to try and get your head around some of this stuff. We've covered a lot in this video. We've covered digital vinyl, we've covered using separates as MIDI controllers, and we've covered hardware effects and using Traktor both as something that you plug directly into this and just plugging your DJ controller into here and not doing anything else in a club. So maybe watch the video one more time if it's all going whoa. But there you have it, the Pioneer DJM-850. We really like it, and if you're a Pioneer DJ, your choice really is going to be between those three models that we've spoken about, and it's going to be determined about how you're going to want to use software, how you're going to want to use Traktor, and what decks you're plugging it in. Because at the end of the day, you need the controls somewhere, whether they're on the mixer, or on the decks, or on an X1. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in our next video.